something about the Canadian Food Grains Bank. It's been around for 25 years. Our denomination works along with 14 other denominations across Canada. And the government is so impressed with this program that any donations that come to the Canadian Food Grains Bank are matched 4-1 by CEDA. And so in its 25 years existence, the Canadian Food Grains Bank has provided over $500 million. I didn't say million, I said billion. Over $500 million of food aid in 76 countries around the world. That's something else you are connected to. Together across Western Canada, we contribute people and we contribute finances to help begin new church plants so that the good news of Jesus is spread even further and more people have an opportunity to hear. Right now, your denomination, the Canadian Baptists of Western Canada, are in the process of training 15 pastors within our denomination to become resource people to other congregations. These people would act as consultants to help teach congregations how to effectively reach out to their local community, how to perhaps more effectively be the hands and the feet of Jesus to the people who are around them in their local community. You are a part of that. And together we help to train pastors and church leaders through programs at places like Carey Theological College, the William Carey Institute, and Rocky Mountain College that's based out of Calgary. By working together cooperatively with other churches of our denomination, you as a church, and therefore you as individuals that make up this particular church, have greater meaning and greater purpose in your lives through the privilege of caring for people here, locally, Prince George, across Western Canada, and around the entire world. Do you ever think of yourselves in that way? Do you ever reflect upon the opportunity that you have to be able to make those connections and the fact that you are already involved with them? I encourage you to do so. Thank God for the New Testament. Thank God not only for the fact that Jesus has come and invites us to invite him into our lives as Savior and leader, but he has also put meaning into these earthly lives in which we live. These earthly lives which we live even before we have the opportunity of glory in heaven, as we sung about this morning as well. There is meaning here, profound personal meaning. We need to pause sometimes and reflect upon it and remember it. On a Friday evening in mid-April, a few years back, I won't tell you how many years now, a few years back, I was pastoring a church in a town called Weyburn, Saskatchewan. Friday night, I rode my bicycle from our home, which was about 3 blocks away, to the church building because I had a funeral to do the next day and I had to finish preparing for it. And as I came to the entrance of the driveway to the parking lot, it was mid-April, and so the snow was still melting, and there was water in the gutters along the side of the road. And so I popped the front wheel up as I was going into the driveway just so that I wouldn't get water on the front wheel and then spray myself. It all seemed very logical at the time. As I went in, I still don't know what happened to this very day, and this is quite a few years ago now. But somehow I flew. I didn't know that I could fly, but somehow I flew. The wheel went up in the air, and I went up in the air. I did a complete turnaround in the air. I'm sure I would have got great scores from a judge somewhere, but if they had just seen it. I went up into the air, I came down, and I came down on my back, kind of on this side on my back, facing the exact opposite direction that I was heading as I was coming into the church parking lot. My bike dropped beside me. Thankfully, it did not drop on me. And that little adventure caused me 6 broken ribs and a broken collarbone. Many people have said, how large was that motorcycle that you were riding, when you crashed? And I'd like to be able to say it was quite large, but it was just me and my mountain bike. It really wasn't that extreme. Obviously, I brake easy or something like that. But I busted 6 ribs and a collarbone. That was on the Friday night. I had a funeral to do Saturday. I had a worship service to lead Sunday. And on the following Wednesday, so 3 days after that, 5 days later after the accident, I was due to be in Banff, Alberta, to stand before the Ordination Examination Council, where I would face a 1 hour oral examination, if you will. Usually there's about 25 questioners, and then maybe another 80 or 100 people or so could be in the room sitting there watching you. I've really wrestled with whether or not how God works at times, because I was pretty anxious about going before the Ordination Examination Council, I must admit, and I became quite fixated on it and focused on it. But after I broke 6 ribs and a collarbone, really it took my mind off of it quite a bit, and I really didn't dwell on it all that much at that point in time. Anyway, I didn't do the funeral the next day. I didn't do the worship service on Sunday, but I was able to make it to Banff through a whole series of events and go before the Ordination Examination Council, and I think I passed, and that's why I'm able to be here before you this morning anyway. But when we got home from Banff after that adventure, there was a note from my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law had sent me a poem. Now, I must admit I'm not big into poetry, but she sent this, and I was quite struck by it when I read it. It's a poem that I think paints a wonderful picture of what it means to allow Jesus to give meaning to your life. So this morning, I want to close with this poem. It's entitled The Bicycle Poem.